What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day today. I missed you guys yesterday. I wanted to make an update. I couldn't quite get around to it, but in today's video, we have a lot to go over because after we did have that crazy weekend price action where we got into the 17,000s for Bitcoin, you can see that we did wick below this area, but we have currently found support at the previous all-time high, right? And that was right around that $19,800 level. And I was saying, that if we had gone below 20,000, which was that sort of psychological level for Bitcoin, that we were going to probably overshoot it. And that's exactly what we did. There were so many people waiting, anticipating the 20K bottom, but instead, what did we do? We came all the way back down to 17,700, freaked out a lot of investors, and currently we are trading above that level as I'm making the video. So could this actually mean that the bottom was in, right? We did get a lot of volume on that move. So does that mean that the pain is over? And is it even possible for Bitcoin to actually have bottomed out if the Fed is still going to continue raising rates and going through with their hawkish narrative in the US? That is a big thing that we constantly need to keep in the back of our minds, right? Because what we're seeing right now is a lot of the Bitcoin models, all of these different, rainbow charts, diagrams, plan B stock to flow, all of them seem like they are absolutely failing us, which means that what has been working for the past 13 years is not currently working for Bitcoin. We are seeing a completely different macro environment, right? So I do want to talk about a few things. We have also noticed that Bitcoin miners are still selling. I showed you the capitulation. Now, some of them are okay, but a lot of the new guys that just got into the space, they can't exactly keep up the operation. So that may be potentially adding to the selling pressure, right? So there is also something that we need to talk about, which is why I do believe that we are going to be seeing some massive volatility in Bitcoin very soon. And I'm going to let you know what I'm expecting. And I am going to issue a bit of a warning if you are trading this, because there is something that we should anticipate that could be happening soon. And finally, I do want to mention that there is one particular commodity, traditional commodity, that is doing something very interesting, and it may give us clues as to where the Bitcoin price may be headed. So that's what we need to talk about, because also something that usually does happen on the charts isn't happening right now. And that's a little concerning. So if that sounds good to you, you know what to do. Get subscribed, drop a like. Thank you so much for coming back. Without further ado, let's dive into the charts. Now, if we actually have a look at this, you can clearly see that Bitcoin has been in a downtrend, right? You can see that we are following these parallels quite nice. And if we have a look at the heart line right here, where we did have this resistance and support, you can actually see that we did find that level as support after that potential capitulation wick, right? So that does suggest that it is possible for Bitcoin to at least come up to the top of this channel and retest it, right? And that would put us around $25,000. Now, I did say there was a potential that we could see Bitcoin go all the way up to $30,000, which would mark right here, this bottom. Actually, it's closer to around 29,000 and change, but ultimately, that is the biggest resistance right now that we need to pay attention to short term. There is more, but that right now is what I'm looking at. We have a little bit of smaller ones right here. You can see there's one right around 24,200, but there's really not much right there in the middle unless you count this little capitulation wick, which was quite short-lived and I don't believe has that much impact on the charts. Ultimately, 25,000 would be the next target. Will we be able to even get to that level? Well, if we have a look right here, like I said, we are seeing some volume come in at the bottom, which is good, right? And we are also seeing that we are above the previous all-time high for Bitcoin. So that may have been the test that we were looking for, right? You can see, though, that we have started this major downtrend. And what do I always say on this channel? The trend is your friend until the end, right? So we had this major uptrend. You can see right here, we broke it. We fell below the 600 daily. Trend got broken. That was the official signal where we, and some people were like, oh, we've been in a bear market since up here. Okay, well, that was speculation. We didn't really have confirmation on the fact that we were in a bear trend. Once we broke below that level, right around that 38,000, and we started to fall, that's when I started saying to you guys, hey, you know what? This is actually looking bad. We are now in a definitive confirmed downtrend, and now we have a new downtrend, right? And now this trend is our friend. It's not really our friend, it's a downtrend, but it is our friend until the end. And until we can break above this major resistance right here, then we are in a bear market and we are in a downtrend, which is why you could see that really the way to be trading these markets is essentially to be shorting the resistances. Now, I'm not saying you should short it. I don't promote shorting. I'm not telling you to trade these markets. Dollar cost averaging is the way to go. But until we break above this new resistance that we've formed, we can't fully say that we're back in bullish territory, right? So if you guys obviously want to learn how to trade, check out the tutorial above. I have $23,000 in bonuses below. Take advantage of those in a bear market. It's absolutely free. You just sign up. It takes 30 seconds, deposit some funds, and you can trade with free money. So if you do want to practice your trades, you can literally trade with money that's on the house. It's not even your money, right? So bear markets are times for learning. Definitely take advantage of that. But you can see that we actually attempted to come up to the 200 weekly, which, like I said, is very common. We had some support here. We wicked below it back here. We wicked below it during the COVID crash. But every time we've ever done it, we've always closed above it by the end of the week. Now, obviously, it's currently Wednesday. We have 2 more days traditionally, or if you want to look at the full week, Bitcoin trades 24/7, then okay, we can wait till Sunday. So essentially by Sunday, if you want to use a 7-day chart, you need to see Bitcoin above $22,425 by the end of this week. If we do not see that, then that is yet another model that has been broken for Bitcoin. And now we're just treading in completely unknown territory. And I don't care who you're talking to. I mean, there's really no charts that we can back test, right, that say this is going to work this time, because unfortunately, this is a different environment, and now we're just going to have to play it level by level. As the weeks go by, we're just going to have to look at the charts as it's going, because a lot of these previous models are broken, and anyone saying that, because this happened 2 years ago, it's going to happen again. And yes, I was one of those people, because honestly, ever since I've been in the markets, it's worked. It's worked every single time. It worked in this crash. It worked in this crash, right? But now it's not working, which means that the Fed obviously has laid down the hammer. We are feeling the heat. Stocks are feeling the heat, and it could get worse if they continue to raise the rates, right? A lot of people say don't fight the Fed. But if we just have a look at the technicals, because that is something that I still do pay attention to, you could say what you want. You could say TA doesn't work in a bear market. It still does work in a bear market, because as you could see, as soon as we lost this 600 daily, which is exactly where I was warning you guys about, that was when I said, okay, we're going into a bear trend now. And we had a massive dump. I mean, you could see how the markets reacted to that. But that being said, we are still being supported by this legacy trend, at least short term. So that is showing me that traders are still paying attention to the technicals, because if not, then why did we bounce here exactly? I mean, just arbitrarily pick that number? No, it's because there's algorithms, there's bots, there's traders. They're all looking at these levels, right? So currently, we are technically in the clear for now. As long as we maintain this trend, that's good. And preferably by the end of the week, if we can close above this 200 weekly moving average, that would also be good. However, and this is what I want to point out, there is something that we're seeing right now. Now, you could see usually on these big moves, right here, these are the bottoms, right? Even right here, for example, which wasn't as big. And right here, we've had a huge, huge red volume candle. You could see right there, you could see the red candle, lots of trading volume. Now, generally, this does mark the capitulation, or it marks the end of the move. I mean, look, when we had it back here, look what we did. We went sideways for a little bit, and then boom, we went up, right? And we had that green buy volume. And I have to give a shout out actually to Wrecked Capital. And as he pointed out, in all of these instances, we had the red, it's not really a candle, it's just, the volume. You could see the volume, and it's red to show you that it's more selling, but it was always followed by either, a week or a few weeks of green, which we saw right here, which we saw right here. We even technically saw it back here, right? It went above the mean, but look right here, guys. We are currently not seeing that. We're still seeing the sell side pressure. Now, it really depends on what chart you're looking at. If I go back here, there's a little bit of green volume right down here, but it's not enough to really provide us with that evidence that we're having the reversal. And this is why I'm saying a lot of what we used to say is unfortunately not playing out. Now, oddly enough, one thing that is playing out is this fractal that I've been talking about on the channel. This fractal right here, you could see I put it right over here, right? It's the same exact chart. I just copied and pasted it right over here. And it is kind of crazy how, all these other models are being shattered. But if I zoom in right here, you guys can actually see how much this has been following it. Now, obviously, it's not following it exactly, a little dip here, a little whatever, but you can see there was the peak here. We did come down, and now we're in this little cluster right here, which is suggesting that, ultimately, hopefully, we'll have at least a minimal bounce. Now, you can see this bounce would take us to around the $26,000 level, which is in the middle, right, of that sort of $25,000 to $30,000 level, a little bit above the 25 that we're looking for. But if it does continue, then you could see, eventually it does find a little bit of support right here. We have a little bit of support around the $22,000 area, but then it does say that we're going down again to retest for a potential bottom. And what scares most investors now is, will this bottom actually hold if the Fed does continue their hawkish stance? Now, the same thing we could see over here. Bitcoin is still correlated with stocks. And look, we had stocks hitting right here. It hit this resistance. It came down. And look what we've done, guys. We've turned right here. We've turned this resistance right here, this downward sloping resistance, and now it is acting as support. But we only have about 2% more of a move before we get to the next resistance. Now, I do believe that stocks could potentially try to break through that. But what you could have is another downward sloping trend from that level. And if that does happen, then unfortunately, Bitcoin is going to get hit along with stocks, right? I wish I could tell you that they're not trading in tandem, but they are. The charts are showing us that, we did get that institutional inflow. And unfortunately, the institutions, the guys on Wall Street, they're treating Bitcoin the same way that they treat stocks, tech stocks in particular. And that is why we're seeing this strong correlation, right? So we're going to have to keep our eyes on that. Now, once again, historically speaking, although we do know that a lot of these models haven't been proven, is that when you do get these moving averages cross over, you get the 21 exponential or the 21 simple moving below the 100, you do notice that that often does mark the bottom, right? And it usually only takes a few months before that bottom ends and we start curling to the upside, right? We did it back here. We did it back here. And, we'll have to see if it's going to happen again. But as I said, the macro environment is different. Now, here are some things that we can pay attention to, not just the charts, but Glassnode pointed out that in just a 3-day period, you had Bitcoin sellers racking up more than 7.32 billion in losses. And they actually unloaded over 550,000 Bitcoin between the levels of 18 and 23,000. And I actually posted on Twitter, for the first time ever in my previous video, I saw a lot of negative comments. And usually, you guys are pretty cool, but there was just a lot of people saying that they're giving up, it's over, that's it. And I don't know if, some of you guys were contributing to this selling. I mean, it's one thing if you have to sell Bitcoin to pay bills. I get that. But I am seeing retail capitulation starting. Some people are definitely scared. I've heard a few people say, screw this crypto stuff. I'm done with it. I'm not touching it. That's sending some signals to me, guys. Now, I'm not saying the bottom is in, but I am saying it could be close. You can see right here, over 7.32 billion in losses have been locked in by investors spending coins that were accumulated at higher prices. So not only are people selling at these levels, but it's not just people that were hodling long term. It is people actually that have come in recently and they're down 70% and they're selling Bitcoin for a loss. That's pretty crazy, but that's what we're seeing right now in the charts, and it's showing us that it's pretty rough times. And talking about the Bitcoin miners, we did start to see some of the miners begin to accumulate. However, data by Into the Block points out that outflows from Bitcoin mining pools accelerated since June 12th, with most funds destined for trading exchanges. So they were sending the Bitcoin to the exchanges. Now, did they sell it? We don't really know. We did see a lot of selling happening, so we can only assume that it was the miners selling. And actually, like Chris Brzezinski pointed out, he says he adjusted his expectations that 10K and 14K Bitcoin would no longer surprise him. He says there's too many UTXOs in profit, little minor capitulation as of yet, and more macro pain to go. So he's unfortunately saying that we have not seen enough minor capitulation. But this is something that we have been monitoring on the channel. And I did explain to you guys, and I don't want to keep beating a dead horse. If you've been watching the videos, you know this. But for some of you that are new to the channel, we pointed out all the times in history that Bitcoin has had these minor capitulations. And when you get this signal, it lets you know that the bottom is close, but it doesn't mean it's necessarily over yet. We've seen the time between the first capitulation to these blue buy signals can last anywhere from 1 month to 3 months. So that could still tell us that no, the miners haven't felt enough pain. They're starting to feel the pain. We can see it right here on the charts. We can see the outflows. We can see that they're trying to sell right now, but they haven't reached the full length of the pain just yet. And it could take up to 3 months from now until we really see the ultimate pain and capitulation fully over for the miners, which unfortunately is adding more selling pressure. And I'm not going to spin it in a way to sugarcoat it. I'm just going to tell you the truth. Just like when we're bullish, I'm going to tell you like things look great, like let's long. And when we're bearish, I'm going to tell you honestly right now, with this resistance, this major, wow, that's a lot of stuff on this chart I forgot I had. But this major line right here, essentially, that is something that we need to pay attention to. This line right here is going to be the resistance. So until we break that resistance, there's not a chance at a bull run right now. But I will tell you this, these opportunities are amazing opportunities for accumulation. And I mean, you can obviously tell I'm not freaking out right now. I've been buying Bitcoin at these levels. I'm still dollar cost averaging. I'll probably dollar cost average when Bitcoin's above 100 because I just don't care, because I see the value of it. And I do suggest that, not financial advice to most of you out there, 10%, every week, it'll most likely pay off, guys. It has every single time. But yeah, I mean, these opportunities, they get me excited. They really get me excited. I mean, I don't want to see my portfolio, drop by 70 or 80 or 90%. Who wants to see that, right? But keep in mind, guys, I do keep a cash position, which is what I recommend for everyone. And as far as Bitcoin is concerned, I look at the number and I say to myself, it used to cost me $68,000 for one Bitcoin. Now it only costs me $20,000 for one Bitcoin. And if it went down to 10,000, I don't know if it will. I have no idea. Nobody really knows at this point. But if it did, that would be $10,000 for one Bitcoin. Now, if you believe that Bitcoin is going to 100,000, 250,000, 500,000, $1 million, like I do believe before I die, God willing, I live to be an old man. Who knows with all this stress? I'm actually getting gray hair, guys. I'm getting gray hair in my beard. I'm getting gray hair on my head, okay? And I'm pretty sure it's because of these markets. But obviously, you look at that opportunity, buying something for $10,000 that will eventually be potentially $500,000 to $1 million in our lifetime. Risk versus reward. I can't make you push the buy button, but you have to answer that for yourself. And which side I stand on, guys. I put my money where my mouth is. But nevertheless, there have been a lot of outflows specifically from the institutions. We could see it right now. 30 million in just the last week in assets under management specifically, right? So this is what these guys are managing, currently down about 59% from its peak of November 2021. They say despite the prolonged negative sentiment, the latest report emphasizes that year-to-date flows still do remain positive. So it is still positive this year compared to last year. So we are still seeing a net upwards trend. But for this particular year, we did see a lot of people pulling out, right? Now, there is a little bit of interesting things right here. This is kind of a weird statistic. And if I have any friends from Canada, anybody in Canada watching, let me know if this is you. I don't know if there's something going on there. But they say exchanges in the US, Europe, and Brazil actually saw inflows of 79 million, 12 million, and 12 million. But 141 million of outflows in Canada. So the Canadians are selling. I don't know why. I don't know what that means. Maybe some of you, if you're in Canada, you can help me out. Is there a lot of FUD going on in Canada? I don't really know. But yeah, Canada is actually responsible for a lot of the selling, which is interesting. What I also find to be a little bit funny, I'm just going to throw this out there, is that ProShares actually introduced a Bitcoin strategy ETF, ticker BITI, which launched yesterday, which actually allows investors to short Bitcoin. They're saying that people are worried about what's going on right now and they want to short it, right? Which honestly isn't a bad idea given the downtrend, but it's kind of hilarious that they decided to launch the opportunity to short Bitcoin at $17,000? I mean, we had already lost 75%. So that to me seems a little interesting. I don't know if that's a bit of a trap. Sometimes you can counter trade these things. Usually when you have the mainstream media getting totally bullish, like bullish beyond like everything's just Bitcoin, 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 then usually, okay, maybe we're getting a little overheated. But now you're seeing them launching opportunities to short Bitcoin. Seems very bearish. Could be a counter trade. Just throwing it out there, short term. Not saying long term or midterm, I should say, we don't go down, but I think short term, this might be a counter trade the news kind of event, because it just seems really suspicious to me that they would do this after the price has fallen 75%. It just doesn't really make any sense to me. But let me know what you guys think about that. But here's the warning. This is what I want to tell you guys. Although we are in a downtrend, and the downtrend is our friend currently right now, like Ali Martinez pointed out, if you actually look at the long to short ratio, you have about 48.8% of traders with an open position in the net short category, which is showing us that the shorts are almost equal to the longs and potentially continuing to creep up. Now, if we see these shorts overtake the longs, there is a potential chance for a short squeeze. Now, it doesn't mean we're going to go to the moon, we're going to go to 100K tomorrow, but it does mean that we could have a very fast, very violent, very volatile move to the upside super quick, maybe smack that 25K, 26K level, maybe even go to that 30K level that I pointed out before having that pullback, only simply to actually have that squeeze and liquidate all the shorts, right? Because you know how these markets work. I don't need to go into it, but you kind of need that balance. And when it starts to teeter a little bit too much to either side, there's usually that corrective move. And considering that we're seeing a lot of people get bearish, we're seeing a product come out telling people that you can now short Bitcoin. And we're also seeing the shorts up to 48.87%. Just saying, guys, just saying, be careful of the short squeeze. If you're short right now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't be shorting the resistances. I'm just saying right now, be very careful of a short squeeze. It could be possible. I don't have a crystal ball. I just feel like I had to warn you guys. Moving on. So talking about the Bitcoin models that have been broken, you can obviously see right here, Plan B came out, and Vitalik was really criticizing this, telling him like, look, this isn't working. We're way off this. The model doesn't work. And, he does say after a crash, some people are looking for scapegoats for their failed projects or wrong investment decisions. Not only newbies, but also leaders fall into victim blaming others and playing the victim. Remember those who blame others and those who stand strong after a crash. Now, that is good advice. And also, in all fairness, and I'm not sticking up for the guy, look, you got to admit, it's not working. It is currently failing. But nobody was really anticipating everything that happened, right? We had the pandemic. We had all the money flood into the system. Then they realized inflation was getting out of control. Then we had China, banning, Bitcoin again for the 100th time and all this other stuff with the miners. Then on top of it, we had the war break out. And then we had the Fed start to tighten. These were not things that we knew were coming immediately. We knew they were coming, but we didn't know they were going to happen immediately, right? And it did happen very fast, very quick. And it was a little bit irresponsible. Actually, it was incredibly irresponsible on the part of the Fed, the way that they did this, right? And like Bob Lucas said, he said, you are 100% correct on self-responsibility. And I do preach that, guys. Look, I talk about crypto on this channel. I don't know what you guys watch. You watch Twitter, you watch other YouTubers, you go on TikTok. I don't know what you guys do. But at the end of the day, who cares what any of these guys say? Who cares what I say? I'm just a guy on the internet. What do I know? At the end of the day, you have to take responsibility for your own money, right? If you're over leveraging or you're putting in more money than you can afford to lose, or you're not paying your bills and instead you're buying crypto, although I am guilty of doing that for 2 years, don't do what I did. Nevertheless, you have to just take that responsibility. But he did say it's very harmful and irresponsible to peddle a narrative of must be or present it like a guarantee to such a large, inexperienced audience, right? He does have almost 2 million subscribers over on Twitter, followers. Excuse me, guys. But what we are seeing right here is that the dollar is starting to hit this previous resistance as support. So if the dollar does start to bounce, it's probably not going to be good short term. However, there is the possibility that we do come down here and we retest this upward sloping support, which in that case, that would say that we could potentially see Bitcoin and commodities have a little bit of a rally, into the next week or so, right? Or at least into the Fed meeting. That is a possibility. The one thing, though, that we do need to pay attention to, and I've actually never really mentioned this on the channel, but now I think it's time we start paying attention to it, which is what is happening with the oil prices, right? Now, obviously, this is being exacerbated by the war and other circumstances, but we've essentially had oil on a straight rally since December 21st of last year. You can see it peaked, had a pullback, came up, but now what we're seeing is a potential double top, right? So not only did we fall through this first support, which then acted as resistance, but then the second support that we built for oil, we actually fell through. So could oil actually be reversing? If it is, that could signal that the other traditional equities and even Bitcoin and cryptos may be looking for a bit of a rally as an inverse relation, right? If we do see gas prices and oil prices start to come back down, that could signal a bit of short-term relief, especially to average everyday people who can't afford to buy Bitcoin right now because they're just trying to get to work because their gas is so expensive. You understand? Priorities, right? Paying bills, getting to work, putting gas in your car. This is taking away from people investing. When they were just doing stimulus checks and pumping money, everybody had money. We had so much money to just throw around. And that actually did push markets up maybe a little bit higher than they should have gone, right? And that was a lot of the problem that we had spoke about from the beginning. But nevertheless, we're still seeing professional services like Deloitte getting very interested in Bitcoin. They partnered with NYDIG, and they're going to help companies of all sizes implement digital assets by setting up a major incentive to promote Bitcoin adoption. So according to the announcement, the two of these guys are launching a strategic alliance to create a centralized approach for clients seeking advice to adopt Bitcoin products and services. The companies are going to work together to enable blockchain and digital asset-based services across multiple areas involving Bitcoin-related products, including banking, loyalty and rewards programs, and employment benefits and others. And they're saying this is because of the high demand for crypto adoption. So if people weren't demanding it, if they weren't asking for it, if they didn't want it, they wouldn't go ahead and do it. It would be a waste of time. So we're not seeing Bitcoin go away. We're not seeing crypto as a whole go away. We're seeing a lot of the speculative coins, the meme coins, some of the DeFi coins, right? Kind of realizing that they don't really have much of a purpose, right? Nevertheless, though, you can still speculate on them. And that's what I'm trying to say. A lot of people say, oh, you're not a Bitcoin maximalist. I'm almost a Bitcoin maximalist. I mean, if you looked at my portfolio, you would think I was a Bitcoin maximalist, but there are still opportunities to make money. And if you guys remember, it was about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, we did have a whitelist for the Cantina Royale. Now, regardless, of the situation at hand, these sales do still provide really good opportunities if you're looking to get into them. Benjamin, the CEO over here at Elrond, right? Which Elrond, you guys know, did very, very, very well. We called that very early when it was still an ERC20 token. I hope a lot of you were around for that. We did very good on that one. Metaverse Arcade Cantina Royale is changing the game space. Epic Action NFT digital assets, new income streams will reshape the meaning of work. And he says, let the games begin, because they are launching their IDO now over on MyAir Launchpad. So some of you may have got into the whitelist. That's why I told you guys, absolutely free. Right? You just had to do a couple tweets or something like that. For those of you that are interested, not financial advice, I'm not telling you to just do this, but this is an opportunity. It's from MyAir. The guys at Elrond, they are legit. I've met Benjamin in real life, okay, at a conference. And, the price is down. Bitcoin's down 70%. All the coins are down. But these guys are legit. What they're doing is legit. So, check that out if you guys are interested. I do still want to present these opportunities for you guys, even in bear markets. There are always still speculative plays to make. So that is just one of them. Now, ending this on some news, we have U.S. governor signing a bill to allow Louisiana banks to custody Bitcoin and crypto for customers. Dennis Porter actually broke the news. You could see it right here officially. So the bill number 802, which was sponsored by Louisiana State Representative Mark Wright and supported by the Pelican Center for Technology and Innovation and its director, Eric Peterson, shared the news and stated that the enactment would allow financial institutions and trust companies to serve as custodians of digital assets, to provide for parameters and procedures, and to provide for related manners. As per the bill, custody services refer to the safekeeping or custody of virtual currency or other assets by financial institutions or trust companies. Now, hear me out. I'm not saying that this is necessarily the greatest of news. I mean, I believe in not your keys, not your coins. You allow them to custody it. You saw what happened with Celsius, right? You see where that's going. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen to these banks over in Louisiana. I'm just saying, not your keys, not your coins, just going to point that out there. But it is good, the masses, they'll get in, the guys that are afraid to, own their own crypto, then yeah, that's good. And it'll give them exposure. And the other thing I want to end on is, Anthony Scaramucci, very still pro Bitcoin, Skybridge Capital. They're applying for another Bitcoin ETF. Now they were rejected, obviously the first time, but they are looking to do this again, and it could come as soon as this week. So it's not like they're stopping. They're still trying to push innovation forward. Nothing has changed except for the Fed policy, the price, the war, inflation, all that stuff, But ultimately, guys, one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin, and that is it for me. So thank you for coming back to the channel. You guys rock. You're the reason that I make these videos. Today was a little bit longer, but I didn't make a video yesterday, so I had a lot more I had to cover. Thank you so much. Do consider slapping a like if you appreciate this content. Drop me a comment below. I'd love to hear from you guys. Get subscribed. My name is K-Dub. This is Crypto Zombie. And make sure if you're going to trade, you watch these videos so you can learn as much as you can before doing that. And that is it for me. So stay crypto. And of course, as usual, peace out.